black and white scarf, my black and white scarf, my black and white scarf, my black and white. Yeah, it's black and white. We're just black and white. It's my black and white. It's my black and white scarf.
Hello, and you're very welcome to the Turn End podcast. It's season 5, episode 19. It is our 200th episode that snuck up out of nowhere. How we got away with it for this long, I don't know. But on a night where the league may have restarted, it seemed like Dundalk Football Club could not. To go through this game tonight, I am joined by Gally.
200 big ones. How we've gotten this far, how we've chanced our arm. The 200 podcasts, I've absolutely no idea.
It's a bit mad just when these things kind of pop up. It's like, I think we noticed it like 197. I was like, how are we that close? After 5 episodes, I suppose it's good innings so far from it. First and foremost, Gally, a 1-1 draw to restart the season for it's not really ideal, and it's not what Kieran and Ken would have been looking for.
No, and I was just thinking back. We kind of said in the 2 weeks ago we didn't really want the break, and tonight has probably showed why we didn't want the break. It can go either way for you. You can come out, and UCD are one of those teams that nobody likes playing them. No matter what level you're at, nobody really likes playing a UCD. There's always that team that can play a bit of football, but maybe just don't have the caliber to kind of get enough points in a season to kind of give them a real crack and run at a league campaign. But they're the type of team that you're probably maybe looking for Cove after the break, or a Wexford or something like that, or a Treaty to give you. But
maybe not Treaty because we haven't beaten them yet.
Yeah, no, well, maybe that bit of incentive, but we didn't really want the break. We kind of wanted maybe 1 or 2 more games the last time we spoke, but tonight's just shown again. We've had a week off. I'd like to see we have to speak to James Roger. I'd like to see our games after the break over the last couple of years. I know it's first division, so it's a different level, or how we got on at, but we seemed I think the word of the night for pretty much everybody is flat. That there is no, and we've been flat this season. We haven't been as flat, I don't think. We've probably been, like we're about to talk about, any action, if action at all you can call, is in the first half.
Everything
normally it's the other way around. If there's any action in the draw, it normally happens in the second half because you get off to such a slow start. But this way, and it's not like you get off to a blistering start either, but it's going to kick off your second kind of mini season, I suppose. But look, it's a draw. I mean, we sat here many weeks saying, look, it's another draw. It's another flat performance.
I know you keep that on beaten run going, don't you?
Yeah, we're just plodding along. Yeah. Of course, absolutely. And that's, look, as long as we remain unbeaten, provided it's not all draws, we'd be sitting here in, probably 10 weeks' time saying, look, we're up, But yeah, we're just doing enough. We're just doing enough to keep ourselves where we are.
Any surprise with any changes to the starting lineup? Obviously, Luke Mulligan comes in after, I suppose, impressing when he come off the bench down in Wexford, scores the winner there. With O'Keefe still out, a right back, at least he's a natural right back, is what you would say, which makes sense there. Noah Ruby in the squad, which was a little disappointing because that game probably called out for him at times there, especially when we had a lack of a striker up front for parts of the second half. Yeah,
and maybe not even, we don't know if it's an injury or maybe not even the game itself for 90 minutes, but definitely towards the end when you're playing with protecting no striker. You don't have a forward on the pitch looking chasing a game. It was maybe called, like you say, crying out, calling it maybe someone like a Ruby, a little bit different, bit of pace, bit of strength. Not that we don't have that, but he seems to add that little bit extra bit of showbiz, I suppose, the best way of putting it. That's probably the word he has. But yeah, it's a pity we don't have him there tonight. We're not really sure. I don't know if it was mentioned before the game with an injury, but look, it's I don't think it's the end of the world that we don't have a player like that. But in hindsight, of course, after a game like that, you kind of think, God, maybe for 15, 20 minutes at the end, could have been something that we just could have had. Yeah, and it hasn't haunted us. I mean, we should have done more in the game for the game to be not out of sight, but definitely be winning the match. We are a much better team than them, but we just, again, the games, I know Sean alluded, the games we have to be winning. We're going to get away with it probably for the next 2 or 3 matches, and then we're really going to have to kick into gear because this is the business end of the season now from kind of mid-July on. So it's not worrying, but I mean, look, we're there, we're unbeaten. I mean, we've a little bit given out about it, but we know that it's not like, well, I said a couple of weeks ago, our 80, 75, 80% is everybody else's 100, and we're just that little bit above that. We're just treading water, and we can do it comfortably at the minute, but we're going to have to keep the gear at some stage. We've got to put these games to bed, and and you want to kind of get that run, maybe last 4 or 5 games of the season, where a bit of momentum for next season as well, because that's what you got to be thinking of. I mean, much they don't want to, it's going to come a point to come saying, right, let's start kicking it, let's start getting these results in, getting goals on the score sheet, and because we haven't really battered anybody yet, and not that we expect. There is a game coming, going to get someone hiding, and
that's missing in this season.
Yeah,
we just haven't put a team to bed. We haven't, I always think back to that game in Bray. What were we, 3-0 up at half time, and we're thinking this is 5-6. The game ends up 3-1. So we just don't seem to have that killer instinct in us to really rack up the goals against somebody. We keep winning by the odd goal here and there, and that's been majority of the wins in this run, but very rarely have we really put a team to the sword.
Yeah, and it's not like we don't have the players for it. We have the talent. We have. You're looking at, probably, not to be going all Damien Duff on it, we were the best midfield probably in the league. We've Darryl Hogan, a player that is, you look at, we've mentioned before, we don't need to keep going. You have Mayoa. I'm not talking about midfield, just in general. These are all Premier League players. These are all Premier Division players. Darryl Hogan, Premier Division. Dean Ebby, for me, can play Premier Division. Leo Gaxa, unplayable on his day. But again, are we
looking for consistency? Probably out of them is the bit dismissing.
Yeah, and maybe there's, I don't know, if maybe there's maybe a bit too much. I don't know if maybe it's a bit too much. There's not maybe anybody just absolutely raw and just getting stuck into a match. There's maybe a wee bit too much flamboyance. I don't know, but there's a chance late in the second half as well, not to skip on, where I think Tracy, Mulligan, Darryl Hogan are all involved in and around the box, and nobody wants to take a shot on goal. And sometimes you need that. Whether you're chasing the game or not, you don't need to be this 27 passes around the box. Put the ball in the back of the net, because passes won't win you a league. But yeah, look, we have the team for it. So definitely we're due putting someone, 3, 4, 5 past them, because the Dundalk, even in the worst, we have done that. We've been known to do that for many a year. But look, you're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. You can't really complain, but at the same time, you're disappointed that we haven't really gotten out of the whole season. Probably we haven't really gotten out of third gear. I keep saying it, like we're it's not that we're poor. We just can't seem to find that little bit extra bit of diesel that just kicks us on and really kind of sets us apart from everybody else. We're just not opening that gap enough as we should be.
Yeah, Kieran called it flat tonight.
Yeah,
He said the performance fell flat, the occasion fell flat. Not too sure if it was the weight of expectation all of a sudden in this restart that people are expecting us to turn up and beat teams and not steamroll the league now or anything like that. But we come with a swagger that we'd like to think that we'd be in a position, maybe especially at home, to take maximum points when we can. But that just did not seem to be there tonight, whatever. And I think the attendance is down a wee bit again. It was about 1,500, just over 1,500 there, compared to over 2,000, I suppose, on the opening day of the season. It shows that the old First Division is a bit of a slog, even for people viewing.
I think John Temple alluded to it earlier in the week as well. But I think when you come into the summertime, you've got the kids from last year, maybe a little bit older this year. Some will start a little bit earlier with their secondary school, bit of holidays. Look, I don't know if that's an excuse, but at this time of year, you kind of start everybody on holidays. Maybe you got a few missing. And I look at UCD, as much as you want, it's not a glamour tie. It's notoriously not a massive crowd puller over the years, even the Premier Division. But the weather has been bad. It's just one of them things that I think they need probably a little bit of. We need probably the FAI Cup game. That's probably what we need to really get that bumper crowd going. Yeah, I think that's probably what we're looking at. Some people, and look, let's be honest, some people mightn't have turned up this year because it's First Division. Like that's just part and parcel of football. You might have grabbed some new people up because it's First Division. But you'd expect Dundalk, if you have any notions of having a new stadium, you'd expect Dundalk to be kind of getting the 2,000 mark, 1,800, 2,000 every game minimum. But look, there is some games that'll just fall flat. UCD don't help themselves because they don't carry anybody with them. So you're going from, it's all Dundalk. you're relying on all the Dundalk fans to pay their way in. So yeah, look, I wouldn't be getting too worried about it. Obviously, if we're still kind of running up at the start of the year, God, that's an awful buzz to get there in the middle of talking. I wasn't expecting this man to turn up from Chicago. Drop him in there, Chris.
What's
the story, Bingo? How are you, pal?
What's the crack? How's everyone? I haven't seen you since. Haven't been on since April.
You see, you come over, you play a game, and then you feck off, and then you don't need us anymore.
Yeah,
that's it.
Makes a fortune.
Must be still living off the quiz prices, are you?
My father's still trying to read what it is.
Pingu, we're literally just talking about, 1-1 draw with UCD tonight, and Kieran just said they felt like a flat performance, but a flat atmosphere as well. Gally's kind of saying, the lack of away fans at UCD probably doesn't lend itself for this, but it's one of them that just did not ignite at all. And do you think it can happen in the middle of a season, especially in the first division like that?
Yeah, I think it can. It's a weird one, isn't it? Because we've been winning games, like we know from previous stints in the first division. Like when you win games, the crowds are coming up, and I just don't understand at the minute. Like we're not even pushing 200. I think like obviously 2008's 17 years ago or whatever, but we were getting 2,500 up, to Oriel back then, and it does lend itself. I mean, I listened to the excellent interview that Chris Clark done with Kieran Kilduff at the weekend or last week, and he said that the support does add an extra element to it, and I don't doubt that for a second. It definitely helps, and I think in situations like that, I always reference, anytime I've been on the pod, I think I've referenced this season the game away against Kerry when Leo Gaxley got sent off, and like the supporters nearly played as the 11th man, like the 11th man back on the pitch that night, and then you don't feel it in Oriel, you know what I mean? Like you're not seeing it at the minute. So I definitely would think that the both of them lend into each other, you know what I mean? Like a flat performance on the pitch leads to a flat atmosphere off the pitch as well. So it's like it's a tough one, but
is there a level of expectancy as well that's kind of killing us?
I think so, yeah. And I think, look, we've been obviously performing very, very well this season. Well, yeah, we've been performing very well. I mean, we're unbeaten, but like sometimes though with those kind of wins, we've become accustomed to, really attacking football, high profile players that are playing for us, and we don't have that now. So, you could be winning 1-0, you could be winning 2-0, but then the standard on the pitch doesn't match what probably, to your point, Chris, like that level of expectation. Like you're expecting really good football to go with it, and we're playing really good football for the league that we're in. It's just like some people that are there are expecting, the Daryl Horgan of old and the teams he was in, and it's not that team anymore.
Yes. Yeah, no, exactly. Mind you, Gally, to just to mention of Daryl there, he's heavily involved in the opening goal tonight. He doesn't give up on the ball. Sean Kuehl brings it in. The defender goes to clear it, takes a touch, and Daryl manages to nick it in front of him, pass the ball out to Harry Groom. It's a lovely bended shot away from the keeper, gives him no chance at all. That's the sort of thing you'd like to see more consistently from Harry, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think we spoke at the start of the season that he had that in. He's almost like that. We kind of said Chris Forrester. We were talking about higher level, maybe Michael Carrick, but definitely in our league, he reminds you kind of Chris Forrester, but like accustomed to scoring goals for Pats. I think it's set up lovely for him. It's coming from Keogh, but Darryl just set him up nice on the edge of the box. It's a perfect run. I mean, it's hard to see from the angle of the camera. Not that there's anything wrong with the camera, Chris. But if you're behind the goal, I'd love to see if there's a bit of a bend on it, kind of, because the keeper just
there must have been.
It looks like the keeper's completely caught flat foot. It almost, if you kind of, it almost looks like got a deflection. The keeper's that far away, but I just think he's just hit it with such a whip. I mean, it doesn't need to go top corner. He's a very kind of easy going, laid back midfielder, and just one of them kind of nonchalant strikes into the bottom corner. It's a fantastic goal, and something that we, we'll come to hopefully rely on later on in the season. If we're not getting goals up top, a bit of midfield working, instead of kind of always looking for the Horgans or the Gaxes of the world, and because we've seen tonight, even with the strikers on, we did have the chance of going to come and go and might not work for us. So to have that, Harry Groom back and everybody up coming in from the locker, and look, we've got obviously little bits across the pitch. You've got BO from headers, or we've got Keogh from free kicks, but you got to get goals from midfield. I think most teams that win leagues, the midfielders are scoring goals on a regular basis. And it's nice, especially for Harry. He missed a few games. He's a top footballer, really is. I mean, I'm not going to even pretend that I watched a lot of football before he signed for Dundalk. You just hear kind of stuff on Twitter, but he's a really, really quality footballer. And yeah, hopefully he'll be injury free for the rest of the season, and he's a massive kick on now to get us promoted. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks. Well, a couple of months, but a couple of weeks.
It's good to see Steph's on the sauce anyway. That's the main thing. Pingu, just like on the middle of the park, like there's probably not another team that has the quality of like a Harry Groom, A. Dervin, and Darrell Horgan in them in the first division. And like Ali said, we really should be using that to the best of our ability more often.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like Ali said, Groom obviously missed a couple of games, and I think that was evident. But like trying to figure out how best to play him and Dervin, because I think Groom likes to sit back a little bit, doesn't like to get forward. And that's probably the position that, again, we'd be used to having, your Paul Doyles, your Dervins are the player that plays in that pocket and kind of is more box to box. So we don't have maybe that person right in front. But I think for me, like I would personally like to see Darrell play more central. Like I know he's been playing on the wing a lot, but I feel like you could, maybe play him in behind the striker in that central position, Gaxa one side, and I don't know who you put in, but I personally would like to see him because I don't think he has the legs for 90 minutes out on the wing anyway. And I feel like just with his range of passing that, he could open people up. But again, we all know, obviously, Dervin, fan of the show, whenever he pulls his socks up, he seems to pass a little bit better when his socks are down. His passing's not always at 100%, but you can never fault the effort. You can never fault the effort that he puts in when he plays. He always gives 100% every match, and I think that's something obviously that the fans do get behind, and that's why he's become a little bit of a cult hero in the shed, and people enjoy watching that. But yeah, it's I definitely think, like, again, I'm not Kieran Kilduff, so I don't see what happens on the training ground every week. But I would love at some point this season just to see how Darrell would fare in behind the striker, because I feel like, getting the ball out to Gaxa. Like sometimes he goes to play that pass, but he's playing it from left to right, and it's a long distance to cover, where if he's playing centrally, I think he might be able to put them through a little bit more often,
Yeah, and then on the other side of it, you've got young Shane Tracy and Andy Parashev as well, probably knocking the door, trying to, like, can I fit into that three in the middle as well? Like,
exactly. I mean, look at Parashev's had a great, like, kind of an explosive start, didn't he? And then there was a couple of games that he played, and he didn't maybe hit those heights. I think those young lads probably aren't used to the physicality of the first division. Like, it's more physical, and it can take its toll. But I mean, both of them, anytime they've came on, have done very, very well.
Gally, I suppose we'll come to the bit that Enda Minogue will, not be happy with it all. The concession of the free kick is weak enough in the first place, but to concede the goal so soon after we've taken the lead is really disappointing. But the manner of that goal, like, he just gets it all wrong. He takes a step to the left. Yeah. It should just be a tip over the bar, a catch, a punch. I think, he probably could have taken his pick of what he wanted to do. He done neither, whether the sun was in his eyes or what happened with it. But it's one the end of one to look back on.
It's one of them that if he had just left his hands down, it just hits him in the face. And it just bounces out. It's one of them. And the thing is, you normally see a ball move. It's almost like a Ronaldo free kick, but that wasn't tonight. That was just a normal whipped in, hard drive, left-footed free kick. So I don't know how much movement was in it. If the sun's in his eyes, I mean, like, I don't like. The sun would have been in his eyes for that half. I don't know. Like, he takes a step to his left. I don't think he takes too far of a step. I just think he's just
he does take two steps over to protect the inside of the wall. It just seems to be a real. I presume it's because Finn was there, and if Finn hits it, he's bending it round that side. So that's maybe in his head. And even when the ball goes after he punches it, it's almost into the roof of the net. It's such a weird. Yeah, look, it does take nothing from the strike, but it's gone down his throat. I mean, it's not. Yeah, it has. Yeah,
it should be bread and butter for goalkeepers. Or punch
I think
it
the
out,
two big saves we were talking about in Wexford to keep us in the game,
Yeah.
and how important they were, and then that a save that really should be kind of bread and butter for him.
Yeah, he will not be happy.
He won't be happy with that.
Even if we'd have won 4-1, that's what he'd be thinking. He'd be eating him the goal, like, and it's a goalkeeper shot. Like, that's just it's the worst nightmare for a goalkeeper when you can see the goal like that. And like you say, he's been solid. You know, like he's been de-signing. You know, Kieran Duff wanted, and yeah, it's a strange one. It's very unlike him, and I hope it doesn't set him off on some kind of trend over the next couple of weeks. But yeah, it's for me, it was a surprise simply because of the way that free kicks hit. It's not like it's absolutely busted
it's not
in.
top corner,
it should be just a really routine thing. And look, if I was him, I'd blame the sun. You know, but look, it's just one of them, and unfortunately, just and that percent, like it enhances the reason the Dundalk being flat. You know, because we haven't gotten back into it. Then, you know, we won all the early doors. We've had probably 65% of the game then to play, and we just haven't really produced after that. We've been flat again, and we find ourselves pegged back in at 1-1 and can't really get ourselves out of it. And you know, at times, if UCD probably had an Ebby up top, they probably could have won it for the little that they did have. Yeah. But again, we just haven't kicked on from it. We haven't used it to motivate us. And that's not the way they've been set up, I'm sure. It just seems to be just one of those things that they can fall very flat very quickly. And it's I hope it just doesn't creep in. Like, the thing is, we're playing flat, we're doing enough. That's the crazy thing about the league. You know, we're doing enough and we're taking over, and nobody seems to want the league but us at the minute. But you know, we just have to keep that gap that we have at the minute as wide as we can, because if we get games like this more regular, we kind of said at the start of the year, we're still talking about this kind of momentum that's not really there at the minute after maybe 6 or 7 games. We're now, you know, you're now halfway up the league and we're still kind of sitting here on a Friday night. You know, people don't listen to us half the time, but they'll probably definitely not listen to us now, because it's just that same kind of it's just non-happening at the minute, and they really need to kind of like we said earlier, they need a massive win. And I think the cup game probably can't come soon enough. I know it doesn't enhance the league at all, but maybe that game could be something just to light a match underneath these boys. The level will be up, so it could be something just to kind of really kickstart the season for us.
Pingu, just, you know, conceding an equaliser, you know, less than 10 minutes after you score, and take a draw in at half time, and you know, it's UCD haven't done a whole lot to really earn themselves back into that. Like, that's the real disappointing part, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Sorry, I just got distracted a second ago. Stephen McKevitt texted me and said, don't be talking bad about his friend Ed Irvin. He can pass the ball no matter what height his socks are. So I'll throw that in. Yeah, no, it's disappointing, and it's obviously, you know, it's not the first time this season that it's an all preventable goal. You know, it's something that's very routine. Again, these seem to be the games that are most disappointing. You know, is where, like, if we're going to give out, and obviously I've been critical about some of Cherry's blunders this season, you have to be critical about this one as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's just, again, it shouldn't go 1-0. Like, I think you just said there, like, we're due a big win just to kind of get us back in action again. But just not being focused for those 10 minutes killed us, you know, and that's usually what a manager would say, you know, the 5-10 minutes after you score is the time we need to just full on concentrate, because usually the team will start coming at you. But it's very, very disappointing that you can see that early, because you'd hope maybe after going a goal up, you might be able to kick on then.
See it through and get into half time. Yeah. And would it worked. There's really not a whole lot we're going to talk about in the second half, because nothing happened. I'm not even going to lie to you, lads. Nothing really happened. And that is the most disappointing thing for me. Yeah. It seemed, Gally, like, you know, Kieran went to make changes. He took off. Ebbe played Kenny through the middle. Then it came to a situation where Ed Irvin kind of walked off. It seemed to pick up it looked like a bit of a strain or something. But then we ended up in a situation where we had kind of Daryl Horgan up front, you know, Leo Gaxa and Sean Keogh. Like, we just lacked any sort of penetration. And you could see at times where when Michael came on wide and even Luke Mulligan on the other side, they kind of got the ball out wide and were like, do we cross the ball? Like, there's nobody in there. Like, there's no point crossing balls in for Daryl Horgan, let's face it.
it was almost like we had to reach a quota of making substitutes. You know, it was just something like we ended up playing the last, I don't know how many minutes with no striker chasing the game. And like
10 minutes, I think.
And like, you know, you'd like to think we have the quality there that we don't, you know, potentially we could play this, you know, false nine, this kind of, we don't need a centre forward. But I mean, you'd probably be better suited doing it in Premier Division because the level's a little bit higher. At First Division, you have to have someone in the box. You got to have a poacher. You got to have a, you know,
it was probably set up for a Ruby there, wasn't it?
100%. We said at the start, 100%. It was probably the match for him to come on. I don't know what injury, what it is.
Kind of like the Bray game where we were huffing and puffing without doing anything. But as soon as he came on, he scores the equaliser, and then the energy just went up.
Yeah, because it just gives you something different that we don't. It's not that we don't have it, but at those critical moments when we do, the person who has it and said it was already on the pitch and haven't done it. So a Ruby's the man then to come on. It's such a pity because, you know, I like John Flanagan said, it's a pedestrianised game. Like they were just so pedestrian. It was just so kind of.
But it looked like every time we got the ball into a situation, it was like, what do we do? Because normally we try to bend the ball in maybe for Ebe or something, but you couldn't do that, and it just seemed like everyone was confused of exactly what we were going to do.
And even you take the likes of like Owen Kenny's come on, he's one or two half chances. I think
he had a good dribble and run in the first half.
Yeah, and it's a limp shot. It's not even like it's kind of a. It's almost like an end of the game where we played 90 minutes. That type of shot. There's just not kind of no. Look, it's taken him a couple of minutes maybe into the game. But, you know, you want to be hitting that full on the whack and making the keeper work for it. But that's just summed up the night, really, of the chance that we had. Like, the second half is just, we could have, you know, if you were allowed, you probably would have called it at half time. But, yeah, it's just...
Could young Malloy have done something? The only thing I could think of.
Yeah, maybe. Like, but definitely something different because nobody's seen him that often. We've probably seen him less than we maybe expected. Yeah, definitely. It's like... I mean, maybe they're looking for Darrell, maybe to get something from outside, but I don't know. It's and look, we don't know. We don't know. But hindsight, absolutely, TJ Roy could have done something. You know, parachute.
Could you have done it? Could you have done the job?
Could I have done the job? I don't know.
You saw the job up front.
You saw me play for 10 minutes at 12 minutes.
Your man hit the window that day would have done something. The boy hit the window that day.
Gary McCullough could have done.
Keith Fanning would have done something. Keith Fanning. Tom O'Connell waxed he would have done something for us.
Keith Fanning could have done it. But you know who would have kept that goal out today is young Dan Shields.
100%. With hope Dan's on this, he'll
be listening to that. He'll love that. He'll love that. He'll love that.
Yeah, you know, that lack of, I don't know if it was by design or just by, it's almost like they put them on and go, whoa, wait a minute. We'll have to call him a sub.
I don't think he was expecting to take Dervin off, and that kind of changes everything and to accommodate.
He's as mad as a bag of cats, so he is.
But yeah, no, it's just disappointed that it comes to a situation like Pingu, you're chasing a game, and then suddenly you don't have the target man up. You know, it's not by design, like Ali says. You know, injuries or whatever kind of fall into it, and I'm sure he wanted to get McHale into the game a bit as well, because obviously he's only back after injury, and he'll be an important player to get minutes in. But it did look like for the last 10 minutes, just everyone's a little bit, wait, who's up top kind of questions amongst each other, kind of going, how is this going to work? Yeah,
it could be an element. Obviously, he said in the interview, that excellent interview with yourself there, Chris, the other day,
nice one.
About the amount of lads, that are doing leave and cers, they're getting ready for exams and that. So, we also don't know what training's been like. I reckon there's probably not been a full squad for training. Some of those lads, might be doing the leave and cert and then they come on and play tonight, like they come out and started tonight. So maybe at a draw, maybe he just wanted to get it home and hosed. Maybe that was part of it. He wants to get people on the pitch, get them time, but maybe at some stage he was like, look, we'll just wing it here, but yeah, I don't know. Again, it was interesting comments that he made in that excellent interview with Chris Clark, just about that. I think he obviously wants to kick on to see this after the break, but I think maybe given everything that's been going on in the personal lives of some of the players, a draw maybe he was settling for a draw and he just wanted to get people game time.
Gally, then does that kind of set us up for, there's a window approaching? Is that an area that we probably need to be looking at?
I think we
Anyone
said
with
this.
eagle eyes might have spotted someone around Oriel tonight.
Yeah,
You shot J.O.
we said a couple of
Who's
weeks
he
ago,
talking to?
unless they think somebody might. I mean, obviously, a couple of injuries. Yeah, look, that's you kind of maybe sort that out. We kind of said this. The team looked, we looked like a settled squad. Could there be someone going out? I don't know. Or they maybe factoring in that they might lose one or two. Could it do any harm? Like it's the same thing we've been saying. I think we spoke to someone at the school earlier on because Damien. Everybody's saying the same thing. You have to bring in players. Not for the end of the season. These players, whoever we bring in, have to be good enough to go up with us. And if they're not good enough, then we shouldn't be taking them in. So you listen to the rumours. You spotted who you spotted earlier on, Chris. And look, I think that they will definitely add to the squad. It's something that I didn't think we would need, but one or two injuries might creep in. Maybe it's a long time playing in the last or tough.
Just when you're looking at that team there tonight, you're just thinking you're looking for, players to come on and make a name for themselves or change something, and it just looked like to be in a situation where we didn't have a front man really kind of told me that maybe the squad is one or two injuries away from not actually having that killer instinct. And like you say, you're right. If you're bringing in players, they should be with a view that with the position that we're currently in, that you could have these into next year, in particular if that is in the Premier Division. That's where you should be looking at. But like Pingu, do you think, like, where do you shop for those players though? Like, we're not going to be able to buy any players. Let's be honest. We're not in that situation. We all know where the club is, so you're going to have to be smart in what you're doing. Are you looking at loans? Are you looking for hoping to pick up one or two things maybe in the free market?
Yeah, I think you're probably looking in the bargain bins, to be honest with you. So given again things that have been said, and hearing from Keller during the week, I think I'm not going to mention the interview again, but hearing from Keller during the week, like I don't think the club has the funds. And again, part of that is what's coming through the turnstiles every week as well. So if you're getting players in on loan, you're probably hoping that you're not paying the full wages, that the home club is covering some of those wages. But I'd say there's probably room for maybe one or two players that might have been seen around Oriel today. But I wouldn't expect, I'd be surprised if we get anything more than that. Like I can't see us getting more, because I just don't think the money is there. I don't think the finances is there.
Gally, if the two lads, I suppose, is linked, if that does get pulled off, then like, would you say like that's obviously you're looking at these lads have Premier Division quality, which is exactly what we need.
Yeah, you need, like, unless they're going to improve what's already there, there's zero business to be had. Like, there's no point bringing in lads in to say, oh well, if such and such isn't playing 1 week, or he's injured, we might bring this person into cover. He's a good substitute. You need someone to push who's on the field to say, right, well, 2 or 3 boys are coming in. They're every bit as good as yous. That's really town. They're every bit as good as yous, and they're going to kill you. But you need lads to be pushed. You don't want to be bringing in journeymen to say, look, you'll fill the bench there. You'll be good for the last 20 minutes. You want people who have, like you say, had that Premier League minutes, have the experience, and who we've been linked with definitely have it. They're definitely the surprise that I didn't think one in particular wouldn't really expect. But yeah, look, it definitely seems to be not a done deal, but it definitely seems to be something that's not too far away. Christopher, you probably know more than most of us.
I think on that, I think I think on that there probably is, if they're bringing in a couple of players to that point, like they probably are looking with one eye on the Premier Division. And this is no slight against the lads that are playing for us right now, but when you watch, like, I've watched a lot of First Division football this year. I watch Premier Division football, and there's a huge step. Yeah, and I'm not saying that.
No, that's fair point. Yeah,
I'm not saying that our lads wouldn't be deserving of an opportunity, but I mean, I would say you'd be fairly confident that we'd struggle with the current squad that we have if we do go back up. So I'd say, at least one of the names that I've heard that may have been seen around Oriel Park in the shed. Hopefully, he doesn't have to do a drug test in the next couple of days, but especially if he's standing next to desperate Dan Shields. But no, I think there is probably one look on, promotion and having a few bodies there that it's not a complete squad overhaul. If you have 5 or 6, then you can kind of build your Premier Division team around that. So as I say, they're looking in the bargain bin, but if you can get one nice bargain out of it, or 2 nice bargains, then that would be good. But yeah, that's kind of where I feel like it's going.
Yeah, look, that's it. And I think you're also probably thinking you're a couple of weeks away before any of these lads can come in to Gally. So, if you are a player that's and you're in your position is looking under threat, like this is the time to really start showing your worth as well. And showing that you deserve that start, because if we are in a situation we can bring in these lads, there is only 11 lads that can start each match, and you have to be, you'd have to be worried if there was someone else coming in, but you'd also have to be putting your best foot forward here and showing Kieran and Ken in training, like Pingu says, exactly what you're made of, and that you deserve that starting place.
Yeah, because what you don't want to happen is, if you're not kind of just where they want you to be, well, we might loan you out to the end of the season, or we don't have a massive squad either, so I don't really see that being. Well, I mean, you never know. Depending on what the level that comes in, if there's any more, but everybody's position should be under threat. Nobody should be guaranteed a spot. You have to. You're fighting for promotion. You're fighting for the jersey. Nobody should be comfortable in their position, but they shouldn't be uncomfortable that they're scared to play football. The same thing. They got to go out with confidence. They got to go out and play the game. But they should know that there's somebody waiting in the wings to step in and take their jersey off them. And it's the only way it should be. And the way Kilduff, Ken Kieran are, the attitude they had the night we spoke to them, I don't see any reason why the players would have that. That would be going into their mentality, or
I don't think they'd let that sink into the dressing room.
100%.
Yeah. No, look, lads, I said we would just do a quick enough show tonight. Just as I said, there wasn't going to be that many talking points from that game, unfortunately enough, especially in the second half. I think we'd be remiss of us not to give it to the one-hand wonder who can save these free kicks all by himself. So he's thrown in for Vinnie Leonard for man of the match. So I'm happy enough. What do you think, lads? Go with
that's a man of the match award all the way from April.
Yeah, he didn't get a pizza. We probably half promised him a pizza at some stage.
Oh, well, there we go.
After his performance. So,
there we go. If Vinny throws the pizza at him and he catches it, he can have it. How about that? That seems fair. That seems fair enough. So fair play, Dan. There you go. We've come up trumps and give you the old pizza for tonight anyway. So if we hear that got slipped through the hands at any stage, that the sun was in your eyes, we'll be devastated to hear that. But fair play, and thanks as always to Vinny and the lads in Tony.
Like the bounce, lads.
Go for it, Pingu. Thanks for jumping in, pal. Nice one, Gally. Just before we finish, treaty next week. I said to Kieran there post match, is it probably looking forward to getting another home match in? He said, yeah, except if it wasn't against 3D, the only team we haven't beaten so far this year. It's an amazing thing when you think about it. But they go and they beat Bray tonight. Yeah,
it's at the same time. Well, I suppose after tonight, you should be looking forward to playing them now, because it is one of those things. You don't want to go through the whole saying, we didn't beat this team, or we didn't play well against them, we didn't get the results we wanted. Now's the time to put it right.
Is it a thing where they have our number, do you think, or to just know their system?
They are. I felt in the second game in particular, they definitely had us not under the cosh, right? But they definitely kind of understood what we were going to do. They knew how to play it. They had a game plan to set themselves, although they weren't fantastic themselves. But it should be a good game. It should be probably the best game. If you look at the fixtures, that maybe the last 3 or 4 fixtures that have gone and what's coming up after that, it should be the standard.
They're probably one of the most formed teams.
100%. Yeah,
in the division.
Probably an underrated team. Probably not underrated, but not one that you would have had maybe fighting for top 3, top 4. I think at loan we had up there us Aegis at the start of the year, but it's definitely something that they want to get off their backs. They want to get this game in. They won't want it tomorrow after tonight, but I mean, that it'd be a nice weekend, bit of training and get this game going, because they want this off. They want this notch done. They don't want to be going through the season. Right, we didn't beat these this year. We bet everybody else. Let's not look back and have that one.
It's funny when I look at their form guide. They've played 18, they've won 8, lost 7, and drawn only 3. So they're really a win, win or bust sort of a team. It's what do Treaty and my daughter have in common? They can't draw. That's the way it seems like,
Never heard that before.
There you go. You can have that one. So you've got to put that right though. If 2 of their draws have come against us.
Yeah.
So we've only drawn 1 or 13.
Look, I won't be dramatic. It's not going to hang over us. But at the same time, if anybody's going to beat us in the league, it's going to be them. So you need to get that. You need to get that sorted and off your back straight away. Like Jason says, it couldn't. In a way, it probably couldn't come at a better time because of tonight's match. Because you got to show up now, haven't you? They got to put on a performance. They got to put on a performance because you've seen some of the comments online. Wee bit of kind of this. Look, I think some of them are a little bit harsh, but I mean, there's no doubt tonight that, like John Flanagan said, the war tonight probably is flat. But John is a pedestrian. Yes, but I mean, it's not like we're a bad team. We have another 2 gears at least. And let's start next Friday night.
Well, on that upbeat note, I think we'll wrap it up there. Thanks as also to Donal Green and everyone at Dundalk Village as well for the overall sponsorship of the podcast, and to Mark Carlin and the lads up in Black Mountain Studios. Also, hopefully we'll have something going at the end of the season again. That's it. Look, as I said, it's heading down to a big match now against Treaty next Friday. We got to get back to winning mentality again. Got to get back to being on the front foot and putting teams to the sword. Like I said, it would be nice. It has to happen at some stage. No better time than to happen on Friday night. So until then, come on to town.
My black and white scarf, my black and white scarf, my black and white scarf, my black and white, yeah, it's black and white, we're just black.